Recycling. Thank you for joining us today. Apologies for the slight delay. That's what happens sometimes with live streaming, but we're here now, and we're here because we often talk about the consumer's responsibility to sort their packaging and how extended producer responsibility applies to brands and those placing products on the market to ensure that consumers are not only integrating good sorting practices into their civic daily behavior, but do also have a practical access to the relevant collection infrastructure to ensure that materials are effectively recycled. Today, we will shift our focus to the way extended producer responsibility applies also to Horeca establishments, hotels, cafes, and restaurants, which, as we will see, is a whole different ballgame. It's the same glass packaging, but it's a different approach, a different scale, a different scope, a different target audience. And this is why we are working on a roadmap to collect and recycle Horeca glass. And this event is an important milestone on this journey, which started with HOTREC, the European Association of Hotels, Restaurants, Pubs and Cafes, joining Close the Glass Loop in October 2021. Today, we will be presenting the key highlights of a new study on glass packaging in the Horeca channel, and we will be hearing from 3 case studies in Spain, Portugal and Belgium. In the panel debate, we will also hear firsthand from the Horeca sector, and right after the panel, you will get an opportunity to network amongst participants and with the speakers, and obviously throughout the event, please give us your feedback, questions, comments. I'm sure we can really do some help in building our roadmap together. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Vanessa Chesnot. She is Head of Public Affairs and Product Policy at FEVE, the European Container Glass Federation, and she will be giving us the overview of the new Close the Glass Loop study on glass packaging in Horeca. Vanessa, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. So I will indeed present the study we just finalized. And I would like to have my slides to show you a little bit what it looks like. So maybe I can start by telling you a little bit about why this study. Okay, so my clicker, Jean-Paul, doesn't work. So if you can do it for me, that would be
okay. Please, next slide.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for that. We have a few technical issues today. Okay, it works now. So basically, products that are packed in glass are usually consumed and disposed of in 2 major points of consumption: households on the one hand, and the topic of today, hotels, restaurants, and cafes, so Horeca. So basically, this means that this glass packaging is very reliant on municipal waste collection and on disposal from Horeca operators. And because a lot of glass packaging is sold and consumed in the Horeca sector, this channel is key really to achieve our collection objective of 90% by 2030. So the objective of Close the Glass Loop. The problem we had is that there is limited data available on the collection rate in the Horeca sector, or on how glass packaging waste is handled in the Horeca channel. So basically, the idea with this study was to gain a greater understanding of how glass is used in the Horeca channel and disposed of, in order to first identify the potential of this channel to close the loop, and also inform us on what we can do collectively to increase collection for recycling in hotels, restaurants, and cafes. So that's the starting point. Maybe before we go on, just to clarify that there are 2 channels or 2 types of packaging in the Horeca channel: refillable bottles and one-way glass bottles, and they rely on different collection systems. So basically, reusable bottles will be collected, cleaned, refilled, and resent to household or Horeca, while one-way glass bottles will be disposed of, sent to be sorted and treated, and the resulting cullet will be sent to glass manufacturers to be reintroduced into glass packaging production. So Our study focuses really on glass collection for recycling, so on the one-way glass bottles, as the focus of Close the Glass Loop is on achieving 90% collection for recycling rate. So that doesn't mean that there is no reuse in the Horeca, quite the contrary, but just to make clear that this study is about recycling. So before we look at the study, maybe let's clarify the scope. So this study was carried out by Ogden Hollins, which made an analysis based on two data sets that we purchased from global data. So the first data set relates to the placing on the market of one-way glass-packed beverages in 2019 in the EU 27 plus the UK. So by beverages, we mean four categories: beer and cider, wines and spirits, non-alcoholic beverages, and packed water. So we assume that these represent the vast majority of the products that are consumed in the Horeca channel. But of course, we could also find olive oil, jam, sauces, etc. But we assume that it's really the vast majority that is covered by this study. We also used another data set which looked at the number of establishments per country and per type of establishment. So we find out that there are 2 million Horeca establishments in the EU 27 plus the UK, and you have the split between accommodation, 19%, pubs, clubs, and bars, representing 25%, and the majority restaurants amounting to 56%. So our initial ambition was to try to determine a Horeca-specific collection for recycling rate. Unfortunately, that was not possible to do, but however, there are still a number of very useful findings that I will present today and that will help us moving forward. And the first overall finding is that in unit terms, we found that in 1 in every 10 beverage bottle that is placed on the market is a one-way beverage glass bottle in the Horeca channel. So 1 out of 10. So maybe the speakers of today can let us know whether they're surprised by this number, but we had no clue before doing that study what was the order of magnitude. So now we have this estimate. So if we move on, another interesting finding is in terms of tonnage. So the first number was in terms of units. Now we look at the tonnage. And we found out that out of the 17.5 million tons of glass packaging that's placed on the market, 17% or 3 million tons are one-way glass beverage packaging. So that's also an interesting figure that we did not have before, 17% of beverage containers in the Horeca sector out of the total. So now what I would like to do is to show you what it looks like if we deep dive into the country level. And we looked at 3 ways of characterizing glass packaging waste in the Horeca channel. First, in absolute tonnage, secondly, in kilograms per capita, and thirdly, in tons per Horeca outlet. So if we look first at the absolute tonnage generated in the Horeca channel, what you can see is that 6 countries clearly stand out, and they represent 7, so it's the UK, Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and Portugal. They represent 78% of the total Horeca tonnage. So that's quite considerable. So these 6 countries produce more than 100,000 tons per year. So now if we look at another way to look at glass packaging in the Horeca channel is to look at the intensity of consumption, which is expressed in terms of kilograms per capita. So if we look at the overall consumption, so all glass packaging, on average, a European citizen consumes 34 kilograms of glass packaging per year. And in the Horeca channel, it's almost 6 kilograms. So you have the comparison. And if we look at what it looks like per country, 9 countries are above the average of 6 kilograms that I was mentioning. So again, we find Portugal, we find Spain, Italy, the UK, but maybe also more surprisingly, Greece, Malta, Latvia, or Czech Republic. So for some of these countries, maybe one explanation could be the importance of tourism that kind of inflates the intensity of the Horeca channel. And finally, if we look at the tonnage per establishment, we have 9 countries that have a high concentration, so above average, of one-way glass packaging. And this is quite interesting to know that these countries produce more than 1.4 tons per establishment, because that could inform us on the kind of collection system that is required. It's not the same to collect glass from establishment that produce a lot of glass packaging waste, so big quantities. So the frequency of the collection, the size of the containers, etc., will be different to countries in which the Horeca establishment are much smaller, much more fragmented, and maybe they can rely more on household collection. So that's just an initial thought reading the study, but of course we'll have to deep dive into what it concretely means. So moving forward, what we want to do within Close the Glass Loop is to work on a roadmap. And the study is useful to help us identify the countries that we would need to focus on to close the loop in the Horeca channel and achieve the 90%. So if we cross the 3 dimensions we look at, we can identify 3 levels of priority. Tier 1 countries that are above the threshold for the 3 dimensions, so that's the UK, Spain, and Portugal. And tier 2 countries that are above the threshold for 2 dimensions, so that's Italy, France, and Latvia. And tier 3 countries that are above one of the threshold that we set. And these are the countries, the other countries that you can see on that slide. So the study mainly focuses on quantitative analysis, so using data sets to try to better characterize glass packaging waste in the Horeca channel. But there were also some interviews with national experts that give us some first insights into the barriers to increase collection and recycling of glass in the Horeca channel. So the first problem that we experienced ourselves is in relation to data quality. Basically, it's very difficult. There were some attempts in some countries, but it's very difficult to distinguish a collection rate for households and a collection rate for the Horeca sector. And so that makes it difficult to tailor really the solutions to the individual needs of Horeca operators. The second challenge is the quality of the glass that is collected in the Horeca sector, because there are really high levels of ceramic, stones, and porcelain, CSP, in the glass that's collected, and that creates major challenges for the recycling process. So basically, a lot of broken cups, plates, etc. are mixed with glass packaging waste. And the third challenge is in relation to collection methods and logistics. Many experts mentioned that there is really a lack of tailor-made collection systems. So a lot of restaurants, for example, will have to go to the bottle bank that is meant for household to get rid of their glass packaging waste. So these are in a nutshell the outcomes of the study, but I really invite you to have a look at the study, which we will put on the Close the Glass Loop website, and which helps us to identify how we can best close the glass loop. And this is only the first building block of a journey. As I mentioned, we'll be working on a roadmap to deep dive into some of the aspects. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for giving the overview of the study. And as you say, I mean, there are still a lot of unknowns, but it's a first basis for dialogue between the glass collection and recycling value chain and the Horeca sector. And there will be a lot more coming up than I would imagine in the next few weeks and months. For the sake of time, we move on, but thank you so much, Vanessa, for having shared this. And I think you will also follow the discussion and help us build the roadmap, right?
Thank you very much. Looking forward.
Brilliant. So on that note, as Vanessa was saying, we need to deep dive on a national level. We need to better understand local case studies. And that's what we've put together today for you. 3 different case studies. We will first start with Spain, where I am joined by José Manuel Núñez Lagos Bao, General Manager of Ecovidrio, also known as José Chu, at least for me. And José Chu will give us a bit of an overview of what's going on in Spain. Ecovidrio is the dedicated glass packaging extended producer responsibility scheme in Spain. They have a long history of working with the Horeca channel, also for the reason that we've seen in Vanessa's presentation, that Spain has a large Horeca sector. So keen to hear about your actions on the Horeca channel in Spain. José Chu, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Jean-Paul, and to Close the Glass Loop for inviting me to participate in this event. Yes, I'm going to introduce you to the Ecovidrio strategic plan in the Horeca sector, which we call EcoVares. It is going to be really a kind of a scoop because we have not yet formally introduced this plan to the Spanish stakeholders. And let me first thank once again Hostelería de España and my friend Emilio Gallego, that is going to be with us also, for his support in this plan. This plan for us is an honor to have their support, and we really appreciate that. After many years working to promote recycling in the Horeca sector, we finally decided to develop a strategic plan, not only to put in value what we have been doing in the last years, but also and mainly because we think that a strategic plan is absolutely key for the results of the plan. I mean, if you want to be effective, you have to see the plans in the Horeca sector as a long-term plan, because the Horeca plans are a never-ending plan, because there is a high rotation of the Horeca professionals, of the employees. There is a high rotation of the bars, some close, some open, and unfortunately, sometimes the fact is that they stop recycling. No? So then, if you want to be effective, you want to be realistic, you need to commit investments on a long-term basis. And that's the reason why we decided to develop this plan. So I'm trying to move. I don't know why I have problems.
Podemos pasar.
If you don't mind, yes, because I don't know what. We have been testing it and now we have a problem. So starting with some background. As you know, Spain is a land of bars. I imagine that 25% of bars that Vanessa showed us most of them are in Spain. In Spain, there are more than 300 Horecas, though only 200,000 are selling glass packaging. No? The Horeca sector, as you can see in the figures, is a very important driver of the economy and, moreover, an incredible part of our culture. We can't live without bars. If you can move. Some other figures, the Horeca generates around 50% of the one-use glass packaging in Spain. And we estimate, according to our research based on the people in the ground, that 66% of them recycle glass. Next. Last figures about the past, I promise. You can see our investment throughout the years, currently more than 23 million euros. We visit every day 300 Horecas establishments, and we have already impacted to more than 140,000 establishments, which represent 70% of them. And we not only impact, we are also supporting them, which is absolutely key, with bins, people in the grounds, and a call center. Next. This is really the last figure about the past. Actually, we have 50,000 adapt containers, which represent almost 25% of the total containers that we have in place. Those adapted containers, what they really have is a mechanical device to fix the bin so as to tip easily the glass. We are implementing, as you can see, door-to-door in 54 municipalities, because in those municipalities we already know that if we don't implement door-to-door systems, they are not going to recycle. And we obviously have been in the past, and we will continue in the future, obviously, implementing awareness campaigns. Next. So moving to the future, as you can see, we have set an objective of increasing from 66% to 76% by 2025, which will represent almost 1,400,000 tons collected in 3 years. Next. And importantly, this will have a very positive environmental impact, as shown in the screen. Next. To achieve this goal, we are committing more than 80 million euros over the next 3 years. Next. We will visit almost 130 establishments all around Spain, and obviously focusing in the big municipalities. Moreover, we will continue with the door-to-door plans, and we will significantly increase the number of adapted containers, those with that kind of device. Next. Thanks to data analysis technologies, which is going to be key in the future, and it is currently key for us, we will improve effectiveness and effectiveness. We are able to obtain daily data from the ecovideo visitors, as well as from the containers. And also, we are also collecting key information from the call centers. And that is absolutely key to analyze and to reach to conclusions to be more effective and to be more efficiency, because these are the types of plans that you have to continue be improving, and that you know that whatever works in a place not really works in other place. No? So you have to be analyzing in detail every plan that we implement. On top of the very intensive and very big alliance that we have with Hostelería de España, we also plan to reach agreements with key chains. And finally, and obviously, The plan has to be complemented with awareness campaigns and training plans to engage the Horeca professionals to recycle. And also in this, we will benefit from the support from Hostelería de España. This is a summary of the whole plan, and that you will be able to see in our web in 20 days, as soon as we release it. So thank you very much, and obviously I will be very pleased to answer any question.
Well, thank you, José Cho, for choosing the Close the Glass Loop 90 Minutes to Close the Loop series to showcase this new strategic plan. And you already hint on two aspects linked to the collection in Horeca. One is the adapted container, and the other is also the door-to-door system, because that is a key difference between Horeca and households, is that in a Horeca scenario, you can imagine identifying very specific establishments and visiting them. It seems much more difficult to imagine that at the level of households in a country. So maybe that's something we can explore a bit further in the discussion. Thank you so much, José Cho, and we'll see you in a few minutes in the debate. Okay, brilliant. So now our next step is to travel to Portugal. We have another case study ready for you with Marisa Lima. She is Communications Coordinator at Resi Norte, which is a group of municipalities in the northern part of Portugal. And they have sent us a really nice video showing a little bit about what they're doing on the Horeca sector in Portugal.
Olá, o meu nome é Marisa Lima, sou coordenadora do Gabinete de Comunicação e Imagem da Resi Norte e estou cá hoje para vos falar do projeto piloto Mais Vidro, Mais Reciclagem. Este é um projeto da Resi Norte, da Sociedade Ponto Verde e da FEVE, com um sistema de baldeamento assistido nos vidrões que colocamos na rua. Este projeto está em 2 municípios da área de intervenção da Resi Norte, apesar desta empresa prestar serviço a 35 municípios, mas foram selecionados 2, Guimarães e Vizela, e temos no total, afeto a estes municípios, 88 vidrões de baldeamento assistido. Os restantes do projeto inicial, 100, estão alocados aos eventos, aos nossos eco-eventos, uma perninha deste projeto que foi testada à parte e que consideramos que tem um retorno muito interessante de vidro neste tipo de situações pontuais. Mas falar-vos um bocadinho da Resi Norte, o que é esta empresa? Nós diariamente prestamos um serviço público a 35 municípios do norte central de Portugal, aproximadamente 1 milhão de habitantes, em vários serviços e em serviços distintos. Temos o serviço de recolha seletiva dedicada porta a porta ao comércio, serviços e indústria, onde diariamente fazemos a recolha do papel e cartão, das embalagens de plástico e de metal e das embalagens de vidro. Por outro lado, a recolha seletiva dos ecopontos que são colocados na rua é também da nossa responsabilidade, e ainda os ecocentros. Neste momento temos 18 ecocentros ao serviço dos municípios e da população que recebem também resíduos de forma seletiva. Nós recebemos, depois desta recolha feita, estes resíduos na nossa central de triagem, onde os vamos separar, retirar também os erros de triagem e encaminhar estes resíduos, depois de triados, para as indústrias recicladoras. Por outro lado, vamos também receber os resíduos indiferenciados que os municípios nos trazem, quer seja diretamente por eles ou através de empresas que contratam para este efeito, nas nossas centrais de tratamento mecânico ou tratamento mecânico e biológico. Nós, nestes sítios, nestes equipamentos, vamos tratar os resíduos indiferenciados, a fração orgânica será valorizada para o composto, para o nosso fertibon, e os refugos provenientes deste processo são depois encaminhados para os nossos aterros sanitários. Nos aterros sanitários possuímos um sistema de valorização energética com a captação de biogás, a produção de energia a partir deste tratamento e a injeção na rede, e também um sistema de tratamento de águas lixiviantes que são aproveitadas do aterro, são recolhidas do aterro para as limparmos e para transformarmos isto em água limpa, possível de ser devolvida ao meio hídrico.
Olá, eu sou Margarida, trabalho no estabelecimento que aderiu ao projeto Mais Vidro, Mais Reciclagem. Antes de sermos contactados pela Resi Norte, não fazíamos reciclagem do vidro, depois demorava muito tempo a colocar garrafa a garrafa dentro do ecoponto. A partir daí, sensivelmente há um ano, começámos a fazer e para nós tem sido espetacular. Colocamos muito mais vidro, não vai para o lixo, assim é mais prático. O sistema é muito mais prático e muito mais funcional.
E é cá, no nosso cais de vidro, que recebemos o vidro recolhido no nosso sistema todo da Resi Norte, mas também dos vidrões de baldeamento assistido, que armazenamos até enviar para o nosso destino final, para os nossos retomadores que vão transformar o vidro das embalagens em vidro novo e embalagens novas. Como resultado do projeto de baldeamento assistido, nós conseguimos notar aqui algumas diferenças, mas descortinando e explicando isto em partes. O projeto de baldeamento assistido na Resi Norte está em 2 locais, em 2 municípios bastante diferentes. Guimarães, onde nós temos 75 vidrões de baldeamento assistido colocados na rua, e Vizela, com 13. Eles têm resultados diferentes, também pela questão da proximidade. Vizela acaba por ser o município que mais se destaca, apesar de só ter 13 vidrões. Temos um local onde temos um contentor duplo, dada a quantidade de recolhas que era necessário fazer, tivemos que intensificar, neste caso duplicar o sistema de recolha, e estamos a falar de um crescimento de cerca de 60%. Por outro lado, Guimarães acaba por ser um sítio ou um local maior, com maior dispersão de estabelecimentos. Com estes 75 vidrões conseguimos um aumento de 15%. Em termos de recolha seletiva no total, estes dados são extremamente importantes, porque com estes 88 vidrões conseguimos também colocar aproximadamente 200 contentores na rua. São resultados super interessantes, quer seja do ponto de vista de quantidades, quer seja do ponto de vista de proximidade com o cliente. Os nossos estabelecimentos tiveram uma receptividade fantástica ao projeto, porque o facto de conseguirem depositar e virar de uma vez só o sistema de baldeamento, o contentor para dentro do vidrão, acaba por fazer com que vão mais rapidamente ao ecoponto, e também alguns que não se separavam, o facto de termos entregue um contentor acabou por nos tornar mais próximos e fazer com que começassem a separar efetivamente o vidro, e também aqueles que separavam menos quantidade, tinham que colocar embalagem por embalagem no vidrão, acabam por o fazer por esta questão de facilitar o depósito no equipamento de rua. Acreditamos também que, e é nosso intuito, voltar, e isto acabando por ser um bocadinho fora do projeto com a AIVA e com a Sociedade Ponto Verde, é a nossa intenção voltar a passar em todos estes estabelecimentos. Conseguimos ficar com algum estoque de equipamentos. O intuito agora é voltar a relocalizar aqueles que estão a funcionar não tão bem, ou que sabemos que, por exemplo, em Guimarães conseguimos ainda otimizar, e também por uma questão de efeito contágio. Alguns estabelecimentos que na altura não quiseram aderir porque tinham alguma dificuldade em perceber se o sistema fazia sentido, se era prático. Agora, com a questão de olharem para o vizinho do lado e perceberem que aquilo realmente faz sentido e que é mais fácil a utilização do vidrão, pedem-nos agora para aderir. Portanto, vamos nos próximos meses fazer uma nova ronda pelos estabelecimentos, fiscalizar também, perceber se eles estão a funcionar, se não estão, se faz falta um novo contentor, se o equipamento está no sítio certo, e acredito que daqui a algum tempo vamos voltar a ter novos resultados e vamos também puxar, Vizela já está a correr muito bem, mas puxar pelos resultados de Guimarães para garantir que conseguimos aumentar ainda mais o retorno de vidro, e temos a certeza absoluta que sim. Aproveitando o mote da Sociedade Ponte Verde do Recicle Sempre, por que não utilizar este sistema inovador nos nossos eventos? Aliás, nos nossos eco-eventos. Até agora utilizávamos um sistema simples de recolha por contentor ou vidrão e tínhamos taxas de retorno por evento, por exemplo, um evento de venda de vinho com taxas de retorno de 200, 300 kg por cada noite de evento. Com a utilização do baldeamento assistido, conseguimos passar destes 200, 300 kg para 1500 kg de vidro numa única noite, o que é fantástico. Como é que fazemos isto? Ou com os eventos simples, onde levamos os equipamentos de baldeamento assistido, os contentores e damos formação diretamente aos bares e barraquinhas que vão ter a produção de vidro, ou com o sistema de monitores, onde os nossos próprios monitores colocam os contentores e vão eles próprios depositar no vidrão. Este sistema tem uma grande receptividade por parte dos produtores de vidro, porque facilita. Primeiro, têm um contentor ao pé deles enquanto estão a produzir as embalagens de vidro, logo poupa-lhes tempo. Depois, o facto de conseguirem deslocar o contentor e depositar de uma única vez dentro do vidrão, poupa-lhes tempo e rentabiliza, portanto acaba por ser muito mais atrativo do que o simples saco, ecobag ou contentor simples. E uma vez que a Resi Norte tem de deslocar os contentores ou os vidrões simples, acaba por levar os de baldeamento juntamente com os contentores e desloca estes equipamentos de uma vez só e rentabiliza também o seu tempo. Nós testamos em 2022 nos nossos eventos, mas acreditamos que agora, com a experiência que obtivemos em 2023, serão sem dúvida um sucesso, porque vamos ter mais, já conhecemos como é que funciona este sistema e o efeito contágio, como já utilizamos no ano passado, este ano acredito que ainda vai ter mais sucesso ainda.
And I am joined by Marisa Lima, also live. So welcome, Marisa, and thanks for the great video.
Hi, hello. Thank you very much, and thank you for invitation for this day.
No problem, and we see some similarities also with Spain with the assisted lifting on the container. But I think just one point: the door-to-door visiting.
Yes.
Horeca establishments door-to-door. Can you just say one word about the high rotation of staff in the Horeca establishments and how that can be a challenge for also the door-to-door visits?
Yes. We sensibility this establishment for frequency. With frequency for combating this problem.
Yeah, that the frequency is extremely important in addition to actually visiting them. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Marisa. You will be with us as part of the panel debate. So thanks for that. And now we move to Belgium, where I am, someone on the team in Belgium. Let me introduce you to Peter Verstraete. He is Material Recovery Manager at Van Hede Environment Group. Peter, welcome. You are representing an organization that manages the collection of waste, and in this case also glass packaging in the Horeca channel. Can you tell us a little bit about your activity here in Belgium?
Everyone, my presentation is focused on the glass collection in the Belgium Horeca. So I'm happy to share with you some insights on this subject. Okay. So Van Hede is a little bit about Van Hede. So we are a 100% family-owned company that has been collecting and processing non-hazardous and hazardous waste streams for 55 years. On the one hand, we are logistically active in Belgium and in the north of France with 14 logistic centers. And on the other hand, our customers for our processing plants comes from different countries such as Belgium, France, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Germany, and the UK. Some key figures, we collect and process more than 1 million tons of waste, divided into more than 2,300 different waste materials or waste streams. Of this 1 million tons, almost 600,000 tons were used as reusable materials. And we produce green energy for more than 13,000 households through various activities such as biogas and landfill gas production. We have more than 850 employees representing a consolidated turnover of 180 million euros. The Group Van Hede is structured in 9 business units. We have commercial and industrial waste active that is active in the collection and transfer of non-hazardous waste coming from industry. We have special waste management unit engaged in the collection and sorting of hazardous waste. We have also a household waste collection activity providing logistic services for collection of household waste. We have a material recycling facility or recover facility that is our automated sorting installations for mixed packaging waste and industrial residual waste. Our plastic recycling activity is the recycling, mainly processing polyolefins. We have also an organic recycling facility, includes our depacking plants for packaged food waste and our biogas plants. We have also a chemical recycling activity, but mostly a pretreatment of waste for further processing in chemical recycling plants. And finally, landfill. We have our own landfill, and it's its final element in waste management. We have also business units active in renewable energy and includes all our activities involved in energy and heat production, such as gas engine, wind turbines, and solar panels. Van Hede operates in various sectors, both industrial and intercommunal, and one of these is the hospitality and leisure sector, or in other words, the Horeca sector. Little bit about a brief word on the regulation in Belgium. So for regulation of waste collection and processing, we have 3 regional levels. So we have to take also in account 3 different legislations in Belgium. But Belgium goes for 100% sorting at the source. So firstly, in Flanders, industrial and commercial waste must be collected individually and at source in 24 different waste streams. So every company has to sort out 24 different waste streams, including glass. The major challenge, of course, is to collect small volumes in an economical way. In Wallonian, in the Walloon region, we have 15 waste streams that has to be collected selectively, and in Brussels, 16 waste streams. In these regions, also glass must be collected individually. So, concerning packaging waste or glass collection in Belgium, we have commercial and industrial packaging and household packaging. In Belgium, we have 2 accredited organizations for the extended producer responsibility for packaging. Valipack is responsible for the commercial and industrial packaging, and FOSPlus is responsible for the household packaging. So Valipack is responsible for the volumes and packaging collected and recycled, such as cardboard, wood, foil, and metal. This is a free system, and it works with incentives. FOSPlus is responsible for the volume packaging collected and recycled, such as glass, cardboard, plastics, bottles, metal cans, and beverage cartons. These costs for collection and recycling are entirely covered by FOSPlus, but the revenues come from the Green DOS system and also the revenues from the recycled packaging. An exception is glass collected from commercial and industrial companies. This is an open market where the private industry can collect the glass, but we must report it to the FOSS+ organization. When we look at the numbers in Belgium, this results in the following statistics. And if you can see, we do it super well in Belgium because we collect more glass than is put on the market. This is due to glass entering the Belgian market from companies by non-members of the Grindel system, but mainly coming from private consumers importing beverages in glass from abroad. So when we look at the supply chain for glass in Belgium, the Horeca industry consumes glass and collect it separately. The glass container is emptied on demand, where we transfer the glass to a transfer center. And via bulk transport, we transport it to sorting plants, where they break, sort, and clean the glass. And then finally, the glass is delivered to the factory for making new bottles. From Van Ede, we offer to the Horeca industry an appropriate solutions for every waste stream. The most common waste streams are organic waste collected in small wheelie bins, residual cardboard waste collected in 660 liter wheelie bins, plastic packaging and metal packaging, drink cartons collected in sacks, and finally glass is collected in a glass container, and finally frying oil collected in plastic drums. So we offer a range of solutions to our customers. So more in detail, the glass collection by Van Ede, we offer a wide range of type of containers above or even below ground. We can go from 140 liters to 240 liters, where we exchange the container, but also going from 1,000 liters to 5,000 liters, which the container is emptied. And even when it is more, we have also containers from 10,000 to 20,000 liters, where we transport and collect the glass in bulk. We have no obligation on fixed frequency, so the emptying or exchange is on demand. But we apply a fixed rental price per month and a fixed exchange or emptying price. In case of exchange, there is a combination possible also with other waste streams, so we can collect different waste streams in one stop. Some numbers: we have around about 1,200 containers for glass collection, and we have around about 8,600 exchanges or empties in 2022. And in total, we collect only from Horeca glass around about 1,700 tons of glass. Some challenges for glass collection in Horeca. There is often limited surface for putting the containers. Waste containers are also not the prettiest objects to look at. And we have in Belgium also a free alternative through the ERP system FOSS+, but in principle it's not allowed. It's only for household glass. Also, there are some local initiatives by intercommunals. We've seen often staff carrying small volumes of glass to the daily collective collection points, and there is an obligation for individual collection, but at this moment there is a lack of control, so we see some opportunities to collect more glass in Belgium. Excuse me, I hope you found it informative, engaging. When you have more questions or want more information, feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Peter, also for sharing your experience in Belgium. You mentioned up to 34 waste streams that need to be managed in Flanders, I think, for Horeca. So that also gives a sense of scale for the Horeca sector beyond simply just the glass packaging. And I think those are important aspects that we need to bear in mind as well when approaching this sector. So thanks, Peter. And you will be with us also for the panel debate. So now is the time when we are going to start thinking about what should be the key principles of a roadmap on glass collection and recycling in the Horeca sector. So I'd like to bring in all my panelists for a panel debate on this. And particularly, I would like to introduce Emilio Gallego Suazo. He is the Secretary General of Hostelería de España, the Spanish Hospitality Confederation. Emilio, you've heard a lot about the Horeca sector, but the Horeca sector has not yet been able to say anything specifically today. So now is really the chance also to hear from your perspective, because it's one challenge to collect the glass, but it's also a challenge to dispose of the glass when you're in the Horeca sector. So can you tell us a little bit about your perspective on all of this?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to stay in this meeting, and it's very nice to stay together with Ecovidrio. Our alliance in Spain is really strong for many years, and of course, as you can see in the presentation of Josechu, the results are really important. I want to say that the glass is long life product in Horeca sector, because for us it's really important. Hostelería de España is an organization that represents in Spain restaurants, bars, pubs, all these kind of establishment, more than 300,000 establishments in our country. And 1.7 professionals. This is very important because the way we work with the professionals of our sector, how we promote the conscience about sustainability is really important for this aspects of this kind of systems. Glass is a material that helps us to improve the experience of our customers when they enjoy drinks in our establishments. Is the big difference between to receive the same liquid, the same drink from a supermarket than to stay in a bar, in a restaurant. Drinks in glass provide us a plus of quality and experience that helps improve the labor perception of workers in the sector. And we need to improve the attractions of workers for bars and restaurants. We believe glass helps to improve the quality of perception in work environment and towards our customers. In Spain, we agree with the maintenance of a dual system for recycling and reusing glass in Horeca. We think it's very interesting to have both roads in working with glass. Always is better choosing. The results that we have seen in the presentation prove a good level of recycling in Horeca. The system is okay. We can to be proud of the system we have, as Josechu presented in the beginning. The Horeca sector in Spain is committed to the circularity of the economy, which is the basis for achieving the best levels for environmental sustainability. It's very important to have the commitment of hundreds of thousands of establishments and many people. This is really important. Ecovidrio and Hostelería de España, we have a very big alliance. It's very strong, the way we collaborate, how we participate in the direction of the project, and how to work together with establishments, with the public administrations, in front of the public opinion. It's very important to be together, really, and it's one of the big points for the success of the systems. Also remark the necessary role that the entrepreneurs organization we have in this system, because we have a lot of very small enterprises, very family businesses. The organizations can make the message and take information and to learn to this kind of establishments how they have to work with the glass. Thank you.
Thanks, Emilio. And you talk about the long life of glass packaging in the Horeca sector, and that also then needs to be accompanied with a proper stewardship of the material. So if I then go back to the panel, I'd like to try and understand then how one should approach this sector differently to households, and in particular, should one approach the Horeca sector as a one big thing, or are there actually different strategies, different actions to be taken according to the type of Horeca establishment that you have? And how do you appreciate that? Maybe Jose Chu first. Is Horeca one big sector, or is it actually a mix of many different types of subsectors, and each one in a way needs its own action plan? We can't hear Jose Chu in the live.
Sorry. I was mute. No, yes, I was saying that first of all we have to take into account that the collection in the Horeca sector is very different from the household collection. And in a nutshell, the reason why is because there is much more volume waste, and they have less time. No? So you really have to realize that you have to help them to make recycling easier for them. And it is the big difference in a nutshell, as I have said. And yes, of course, as you have said, there are many big differences among the Horecas, and you have to approach the plans taking that into account. For example, in a hotel, you can put containers because they have enough space, and on the other hand, you can find places where you in the bar where you cannot put containers in the streets close to the bars. So you have to implement, in that case, a door-to-door system if you really want to guarantee that they are going to recycle. So the answer is definitively yes, they are very different.
And there are also some regulations then that actually, in a way, prevent you from getting very close to a Horeca establishment with a waste container because of where they're positioned in a city, for instance. Marisa, in the door-to-door interaction then, I mean, do you get received with open arms from Horeca establishments, or do they feel that this is an extra pressure that you're putting on them beyond all the other challenges that they are facing on a daily basis?
Yes, the most important thing this project, of course, the system, but was essential the proximity to the client and the visits to the establishments to verify if the project really helps in the separation of the glass packing. We made that list to their visit to establishments, first to present the project and to see if they like to join, then to deliver the equipment, and we made the last visit to receive the feedback. This year we will visit their establishments again and to know as you has been. This is my opinion.
Okay, and in this visiting then, because Peter, in Belgium, you have contracts essentially with Horeca establishments, and you are offering a service then to go and collect their waste. Can you tell us a bit about the difference in establishments that you are servicing? Do you sense a different approach on the way they're managing their waste and disposing of it?
But a lot is depending on the surface and on the scale of the Horeca. Very important if they work with temporary workers, and it's often used. Training is very important. So when you look at bigger places where there is a lot of temporary workers, training is very important. Maybe some simple solutions can help. We see more and more also AI that gives information. Okay, you can put it in the bin or put it not in the bin. But that's a difference. Also, the surface available for collect time to time. When you into a center, you have small Horeca places. There is not a lot of space available to put containers. When you go to bigger Horeca centers, bigger Horeca places. Outside the centers, there are more. They have more surfaces and more possibilities to sort out different waste streams. So it's depending. We can offer to anyone a solution, but when the quantities are small, the costs are higher. So. It's for us very important to have an innovative collection system that is on a cost that everyone can pay.
Because in street containers, there are some digital tools that would allow you to know when a container is filled at a certain level,
Yes.
and that helps build in the frequency at which you collect it. In the Horeca part of it, it's almost something similar, but it's at the level of each establishment. Emilio, how do you see this issue of space when it comes to a Horeca establishment? I mean, is this the key problematic factor for a Horeca establishment to manage all these different waste streams despite not having a lot of space? I mean, is this really the key challenge, would you say?
Okay, of course, it's one of the most important thing about how many space have the establishment. In this case, in Spain, we have any solution, as for example, door-to-door with Ecovidrio in some parts of the country have the possibility to make the collection with door-to-door directly to the establishment. Then, of course, we have to find these kind of solutions in very big cities, in places with the urban situation is complicated. The space is very, very high price of the square meter. Then it's important to find solutions to make success to the system.
Yeah, it's and it's not easy, because on the glass side one has to manage frequency. On the Horeca establishment side, you have to manage space, and in the middle there is the communication, the awareness raising. So I think here we start to get some issues that we can identify. Could we put up the Slido poll? We have launched a Slido poll for the audience. So what are the top 3 issues you think should be addressed as part of a roadmap to increase glass collection and recycling in the Horeca sector? So we have removing contaminants, we have staff training, developing tailor-made collection methods, setting targets on glass collection and recycling, implementing regulatory measures, or improving data quality and availability. So please go to the Slido tab and answer this poll, because this will also help us build the roadmap. And I'd like to throw this question then back at my panelists. Jose Chu, what do you think are the top 3 issues that should be addressed as part of a roadmap?
The top 3 I have selected are, in our case, in our stage, you have to take into account that, no? In our stage, where we have been developing plans for many years. Now is clearly the first one, implementing regulatory measures and incentives. We need the municipality cooperation in that side. For us, is absolutely key. The second one that I have selected is the improving data quality and availability, to try to analyze it and to try to be more effective and efficient. And the third one is that I have selected, developing tailor-made to account what we have said during this event. No, we have to be very versatile and understand that we have to approach the Horecas in many different ways if we want to achieve good results.
Okay, perfect. Marisa, what would be your top 3 issues to be addressed?
The space for the container is a problem, but in the future we want to propose smaller containers with the same system in the eco point. It's this problem and the contamination for the glass.
Okay, so really the collection infrastructure and trying to raise awareness on what should go into the glass container when being disposed. Okay, perfect. Peter.
Well, for me, it's also the surface available, training and tailor-made collection methods and collected on an innovative way.
When you are collecting the glass from the Horeca sector and then sending it on in the value chain, do you get feedback on the quality of the material that you have collected? I mean, what are the contaminants and what are the problems with those contaminants?
Time to time, we receive some feedback of the quality we sent. Luckily, today we do not get a lot of complaints, but when there are complaints, it's the ceramics that gives time to time some problem. So contamination with other organic materials, it's not often. So time to time, it's a complaint of ceramics that is mixed in the glass.
Okay, yeah, this issue of ceramics that is quite specific to the Horeca sector. Emilio, then, what would be your top 3 issues that you think should be addressed?
Well, I think for us, we work a lot with in the ground of training. We think the training and the information to staffs is really, really important. Second, for these collection methods, I think is very important to have success. And of course, the third is regulation. We always prefer voluntary conscience in the sector than regulation, taxes, and and these kind of things.
Okay, so in fact, Close the Glass Loop is also a voluntary initiative of which Hotrec is a part, and you think that with a good level of chain, we can do more than if we go around beating people on the head. Is that what you're saying, Emilio? Okay, so what I would like to then ask you also just to wrap up here, because we're going to be doing quite some work on the Horeca sector, and we want to get a bit of guidance for you as well on what would be usefully done by a platform like Close the Glass Loop on European level to really help support higher rates of glass collection and also better quality of glass collection, because really the two come together. So could I get a sense then from you as a kind of a final word on Close the Glass Loop on actions that can support your efforts on the ground, the ones that you have brilliantly presented today. Jose Chu, can I get your vision first?
Well, the thing that we more need at a European level really is to be able to influence directives to make recycling glass mandatory in all the countries, not only for Horecas, by the way, also for citizens. This is something that I think that we really need to help us to significantly increase the recycling rates. This is the most important thing at European level, I think.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Jose Chu, and good luck with the EcoVadis strategy and action plan in Spain. Marisa, what would be your recommendation to Close the Glass Loop to help your local efforts?
The proximity with the establishment is very important, and the sensibilization for the more quality and point is more important for the process. It's enough.
Okay, brilliant. So maybe that means that on a European level, there could be a useful kind of awareness raising communications campaign that would somehow support your local efforts in getting the word out on what is required in terms of disposal and in terms of guaranteeing the quality of the material.
Yes, perfect. This
Okay.
is the next step.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's good feedback. Thank you, Marisa, and thank you for sharing all your great work and case studies in Portugal. Over to Peter then. What would be your recommendation?
But 2 points, regulation is important, but also the follow-up of this regulation. We have the case when we had 10 years ago an obligation to sort it out. There was no follow-up of this regulation, and 8 years or 7 years there was no good sorting. Now there is a follow-up of this regulation, and the more and more there is a selective sorting. But as a private collector of glass, we believe it is important to can move in a free market, possibly supplemented by incentives. And in this way, we can continue to innovate the logistic solutions. For example, we already use AI to monitoring quality of collected waste. So for us, it's important that it's a free market, but supplemented with incentives.
Brilliant. Thanks, Peter. Indeed, some cross-border elements there to be definitely considered. And yeah, we can have a look at what's required also on a regulatory level potentially. I mean, if there is a framework that can help without beating people on the head, but just to provide a structure that could certainly be useful. Thanks a lot, Peter, for having shared your insights. Let's go then to Emilio. In particular, maybe, Emilio, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what could be done to engage with the Horeca sector. You know, what would be our key way into the Horeca establishments, especially on European level? How can you help us build this roadmap?
Of course, if we are talking about a European level, it's very important to take care of regulation because many times the rules, when the public administrations prepare them, they don't take care about the competitive position of the entrepreneurs and the establishments, and the competitive position Europe against another parts of the world, because we are in an open economy. Tourism is, of course, a decision we can go to everywhere in the world. Then, in many cases, the implementation of the regulation to take inside, and this could be a problem for many enterprises. How to be a struggle or more important collaboration? We think the collaboration public and private sector, and of course the collaboration between the system of collecting as Ecovidrio in Spain and the organizations. I think that's the way to prepare the better conditions to success in the collective system.
Okay. Yes, indeed, and also there's a comment in the chat to say there's regulation, but also some fiscal rules would also be important to support that. So thanks a lot to the four of you for having shared your insights, for having been with us. This is a first step on the way to a broader European roadmap on glass collection for recycling in Horeca, and you've been key in building that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gilio.
Brilliant. So that was our panel debate. I'd like to just bring up, if we can, the Slido poll results, just to see also where the audience lies with these questions. And our top three issues that we should be considering are staff training and awareness raising. So that's clearly resonated with people. Developing tailor-made collection methods, equally resonated. And the quality issue on contaminants, and probably especially here linked to ceramics. So certainly we will also be considering that at the level of Close the Glass Loop. I would also like then to give you a scoop, just like Josichu gave you his scoop, we will give you our scoop now. We are ready to announce that we will be holding our first in-person event on the 29th of June, 2023, this year in Brussels. It's our annual event, Close the Glass Loop, paving the way to 90, because we have a common objective to get to 90% glass collection for recycling by 2030, and this will be really the first time that the whole community can get together and exchange views. We'll have national platforms attending the session. They'll be able to give you a lot of information on what is happening locally on glass collection. And also we'll be having some high-level panel debates. We'll be getting speakers from the policy-making side, whether that's the European Commission or members of the European Parliament. So save the date. There will be a link in the chat for you to register already. The registration is open for this event. So that's hopefully where we'll get to see each other next, not online for once. So thanks again for joining. I hope you enjoyed this session and see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.